Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. This is day number 55 of 100 Days of Magic, and today we're going to do a EDH set review of Exodus. We haven't done that yet, and back then we didn't really have the internet presence that we have today, and we didn't have our format even when this set came out. So let's dive right in and see what goodies Exodus has to offer. Now, first up, Exodus was the first set to use card numbering and rarity guides on the set symbol. So we are in Wooburg numeric order now. Cataclysm here is not one that a lot of people think of for EDH. Now, I run it in the Avacyn deck, but my Avacyn deck is pretty mean, and she's the only creature in the deck. So, that being said, it most of the time she outclasses anything that they're going to leave. Limited resources is banned, and I wanted to show y'all there's two banned cards in this set. Limited resources is one. It's been banned since the inception of EDH, and I'm telling you, it needs to be. Think about it. You're sitting down at a 4-player game, and somebody goes first, and they go plains limited resources. Somebody, assuming everybody makes their first and second land drops, 2 players will have 3 lands, and the other 2 will have 2, and no more lands can be played. I played it back in Standard back then, or Type 2 as it was called back then, and it was a beating. I did red, white, or red. It's like 4 colors. It was hard. It wasn't good, but it ended up where I had 10 lands and limited resources, and you watched me play solitaire. Yeah, it lost more than it won because it was 4 colors. Reconnaissance. Now, a lot of people know about this one. This one is certainly not overlooked, especially after our enchantments. Enchantment commanders that we got last year. But the reason why this is so powerful, it is a 1 mana enchantment. Now, it more or less gives your creature Soweto hate or vigilance. Because what it does, there is a moment in combat where the creature has already dealt damage, but it is still an attacker. That last stage of combat, you can pay 0 and bring it back even after it's dealt the damage so that it's untapped and you can block with it. Or if something crazy happens with blocks and then pumps, you can bring it back. Soltari Visionary. This is still Tempest block. This is the last set in the Tempest block, Exodus was. And we had Shadow. Now, Tempest block is the only set to have Shadow. Well, except for the Time Spiral throwback, because Time Spiral was just weird anyway. I loved it, but it was weird. But the reason why I included this one is a 3 mana 2/2 that might as well be unblockable and has repeatable enchantment destruction. This is a great card. I have used it ever since then. This was the set that gave us Soul Warden. Just saw Randy Gallegos at Magic Fest Memphis. Heck of a guy. Wonderful artist. But this was where Soul Warden got her break. Curiosity. Now, if you've got a Niv Mizzet deck, you know all about Curiosity. Curiosity, the you may draw card, it has saved my life many times because a couple of those, what is it, Ophidian Eye or something? One of them doesn't give you the choice. You have to draw. So, if you put this on Niv Mizzet, you're going to have a good time. I mean, really are. Other ones too, but Equilibrium. Now, I don't know that I've ever seen anybody besides me cast this, and I haven't cast it in a long time. You cast a creature, you can pay 1 to return target creature to its owner's hand. So essentially, all your creatures have kicker, and you're bouncing other creatures. So if they had to use a bunch of resources to get their commander out with whatever, or to what have you, It really works well. What I tried to do it with flash creatures because you could bring them down in the middle of combat. Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's kind of forgotten. Urtai Wizard Adept. Now, this is Urtai before he got altered by the Phyrexians. He was just a young kid who was causing mischief, and he got. It sounds a lot like a Wrath Compassion, doesn't it? But he was the wizard on the ship. And, whoa, 4 mana tap, hard counter. Man, it's really good. I think I may have Urtai built. I'm not sure. I may not. He is a wizard, so now we have more support for wizards than ever. But Fade Away. Do you know how often people tap out in our format? Oh my gosh. Because people are under the assumption that if they tap out for a spell and it resolves, they are fine. Fade Away at common fixes all that. Especially if they have just committed to the board creature, and there's no untapped mana there. This I have seen I have played fadeaways that have been Wrath of Gods. I have. It's underappreciated. Forbid, the buyback counterspell. I don't know if they could have made a buyback counterspell and it not be broken, but choosing discarding 2 cards was way better than mana because we saw how mana gets abused with Capsize. But even still here, most of our format, your graveyard, what you throw in your graveyard is not gone. It's not. It's just an extension of your hand. And then you factor in Madness and all those other abilities. Forbid is awesome, especially if you're drawing a ton of cards. Mind over Matter. Man, Mind over Matter. So, okay. If you've got a Mind over Matter, you're probably running it with Temple Bell. I know I would. I don't think I have a Mind over Matter. I don't know, I might. If I do, it's in use. Y'all would know more than I do. Anyway, you tap Temple Bell, everybody draws a card. You discard a card to untap Temple Bell. Rinse and repeat. If you have got some way to dependably recycle your graveyard into your library, you just mill everybody at the table out. And there are other ways to do it as well. Other cards that go with it, but Mind Over Matter, super balling card. Now, Culling the Weak. This is a one-shot ability. You can't sacrifice 5 and get 20, but it's yeah. I've used it. I used it then, and every once in a while I use it now in a sacrifice theme deck. I just thought it was a little neat something to throw in there. Hatred. Hatred is the reason why. This single card is the reason why Infect is a problem. Because it's an instant and you just absolutely... It comes out of nowhere. And at 10 life, or at 10 poison, it's just not even close to being fair. But not many people have Hatred, so it kind of balances itself out. Plague Bearer. Have you ever seen Plague Bearer in a zombie deck? I had one way back, but besides that, not really. Now, it is repeatable removal here, so it's not bad. And at 2 mana, 1/1, and it kills things. Yeah, it's expensive, but it works. Recurring Nightmare, also banned. This card, just banned in our format. I'm not even going to go into it. There's too much shenanigans with it. It needs to be there too. Spike Cannibal. Now, this was the first card that we got that actually steals counters. All the counters. So, that wasn't that big a deal back then, but now it is. We have just so many cards with +1/+1 counters, printing them all the time. It's a very popular theme. Spike Animal at uncommon. Might want to think about it. This was the set that gave us Pandemonium. Now, you got to be careful with Pandemonium because it is a. I hate to use the term double-edged sword because I feel like Kamal, who wouldn't want a sword with two edges? But anyway, it works for everybody. But typically, you're going to do it when you have some kind of loop, and you can do it infinitely or an arbitrarily large amount of time since we don't have infinites. Price of Progress. Yeah, it punishes the greedy mana base. It punishes the 3 and 4 and 5 color decks. And it is insane. I've won games off Price of Progress. Y'all probably have too. Seismic Assault. This was the original printing of it. This was better than the Legends versions, Land's Edge. It was like an enchant world and it worked for everybody. But this is just you. At the only difference of it's still 3 mana, but it is now red, red, red instead of colorless red, red. But I use it. The Swans of Bryn Argyle from the Lorwyn block busted this card. Yeah, it's nice. Now, Shattering Pulse used to be our artifact destruction du jour before we got Vandal Blast, but the ability to just keep popping artifacts every time at instant speed, it's still relevant. Mana Bond. You can just, during your discard phase, you can dump all your lands from your hand into play. If you do, discard the rest of your hand. I think I have this in that one deck that has like 60 or 70 something forest in it. I don't know. Can't remember. It should be in there. But, yeah, it's the Flip Snake guy. It's kind of neat. Miri the Cat Warrior. This is the first set for her. You know, she's had several iterations at this point, but this was the first. First Strike, Forest Walk, Vigilance. I mean, that was ahead of the curve even for back then. Oath of Druids. Man, I'm telling you what, I played some Oath of Druids decks, and I know, Oath of Druids, and the only creature in the deck was Sarah Avatar. You got it all back with Gaz Blessing, and you just kept on keeping on. And you played like, you had 20 Sarah Avatars on turn 3 all the time. It's just the way it was. In our format, it's still valid, it's still good. Survival of the Fittest. Now, we have a creature version of this that wasn't too long ago, so it's not an uncommon ability, but this is the very first one, and if I'm not mistaken, this is a pretty expensive card nowadays. But, you know, choose and discard a creature to go find a creature, surely nothing bad can happen from that, right? And this was the set that gave us Wood Elves. It's not an epic card, but it was the first time it was ever printed, so I figure I would show it. I use Wood Elves quite a bit, especially in decks where I can blink them, you know. Love to get the value and get all them ETB effects. Now we're into artifacts. We're almost done. Coat of Arms. First printing of Coat of Arms. I love this flavor text. 2, 3, 4. Don't know how to count no more. But this was the very first one. They made it with the Goblin flavor text, but you know what? We all played it in slivers. Let's be real. This was a sliver card. I mean, so much so that when they made that all foil sliver deck for sale, you know, you go to Walmart and buy a full sliver deck back in the day. It was weird. They did it like 3 times. I don't know why they stopped. It was amazing. But this was in there. So, yeah. Great card. However, it is totally global. So, I tend to use my Coat of Arms like a sorcery. I use it when I'm going to win that turn. Erratic Portal. Now, I have Erratic Portal of many of my own creatures to get value. I mean, I have done it with Mole Drifter. I've done it with everything. Back then I did Necrotal, but now, I mean, you can do anybody if they don't have that mana, but I use it on myself so I don't have to pay the mana, and I just, 1 mana, keep bouncing my dude back to my hand. Yeah, you can get some pretty sick enter the battlefield effects that way. Null Brooch looks like the worst card you've ever seen when you first read it. I swear to you it's not. Because the one thing that gets people is that first line. Discard your hand. Counter target non-creature spell. Now, it's not that bad if you don't have a hand. or it's not that bad if you're running Dredge or Madness or Reanimation or, I mean, Null Brooch is legit. And really, to be honest with you, you're only paying that cost once. Because once you discard your hand, I mean, you really, I mean, next turn when you go to use it, you don't really have that much of a hand to discard. So, and if you have 0 cards, it's kind of free. It's 2 mana, tap, counter target non-creature spell, which is pretty sweet. I'm just saying, the more you use it, the better it is. Spellbook, nothing epic here. It's just the first time it was ever printed. We did do some weird things with Spellbook. With Necropotence, by the way, that's a bad interaction. Don't put them together. We were trying to give people spellbooks that had Necropotence. Sphere of Resistance. All of those now. Well, this was the first one that it was like stuff costs more. Now there's enough stuff costs more cards to build a deck of. It's got it. That's not stacks, is it? I think stacks is stacks is. Sacrifice and stuff. This is tax. That's right. The tax decks. And our last card is City of Traders. Now this, I remember when City of Traders hit $20. I think I actually sold my City of Traders at $20 because it's never going to get any higher than that. What is it now? Several hundred. It's crazy. But, I mean, it is a good card. If you play a land, you sack it, though. And that's what really has always thrown me off. It's like you almost have to have a Crucible of Worlds in your deck or in play. Now, but that to be able to tap a land for 2 colorless mana, no damage, it doesn't come into play tapped, you just do it. That's amazing. So it's got to have some kind of drawback. But I don't know. I own 0 City of Traders because, aforementioned, I already sold mine back in, 96. But anyway, and I think that is all we've got for Exodus. I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think, and I guess we shall see y'all tomorrow.